and we're going to be talking about sales today, and the fact that a lot of people get a little bit stuck on that word and the energy of sales. And the title today is Sales is Not a Dirty Word. Hey, Paloma, how are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to see your beautiful face, and I'm excited to talk about this today.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit more about why are they so scared about sales?
Yeah. So we have a lot of good reasons to have an aversion to sales, okay? Most of us, if not all of us, have had experiences where we felt yucky in the sales process. And I'll give you a simple example of this. So I went to the bank the other day to withdraw some money. They asked me if I would like to sign up for a credit card, and this guy is sugary sweet. He's so kind. He's the nicest person in the world when he's trying to sell me into this credit card. As soon as I say no, his face drops. He stops talking to me, sort of ignores me, gives me what I want, and that's it, right? So the difference in how people treat you when you give them what they want and what they don't, that can be disheartening, because no human wants to be treated like they're not a person. Every person wants to be treated with the kind of dignity and humanity that we expect, right? And so, unfortunately, there are a lot of businesses that have only been able to grow by doing sales in a transactional way, treating humans as a quota, a sales quota, right? And we are intuitive beings, and we are intelligent, and our bullshitometers are very sensitive and attuned. And we know when we are feeling used or manipulated or bulldozed. And it's a very simple thing. If I would like to be treated like a human, imagine that, right? And so because we've had these kinds of experiences with sales that are uncomfortable, we, as empathic, loving, I imagine people are listening, coaches, experts, consultants, subject matter experts, influencers, like people who want to do good things in the world, we don't want to put other people in an uncomfortable position. We, to sell well, especially let's say you're selling coaching, consulting, something like that, there will be some tension. There will be some tension, but the tension is actually a good, productive tension. And that tension is the feeling of growth, because you're challenging someone up with love, right? You're inviting them onto a quest. You're inviting them into a journey. You're inviting them into a container. You're inviting them into expansion. And so, of course, there is the discomfort of growth and change, but that is not the same as being dehumanizing. And so I've been writing a paper lately, actually a white paper, on people's sales aversion. Why do people have this gut? Like people are saying, like, I'm not a salesperson, or I don't sell, or I'm allergic to sales, or I hate sales, right? I hear this from women all the time. And yet the interesting thing is, studies have shown, a lot of women say that they're not good negotiators. Actually, women are incredible negotiators when it comes to representational negotiation. Representational negotiation is negotiating on other people's behalf. So how do you negotiate for yourself? Let's say you're in a salary negotiation or on a sales call, versus for your children. If it's like the last doctor's appointment of the day, you're a mama bear, you're going to get that appointment. You have the capacity, and you're a brilliant negotiator. It's just actually women outperform men statistically. I think it's by like 23% or something like that. This awesome woman, Margaret Neal, did this research, and I interviewed her. And she was saying, yeah, women are amazing negotiators. It's just that we're good at fighting for other people, but not always good at fighting for ourselves, or advocating for ourselves, I should say, right? And so it is wonderful that you don't want to make other people feel like shit. That's wonderful. It's great. But if we subscribe to this limiting belief that the only way to sell is to mistreat our fellow humans or to be transactional, then we're shooting ourselves in the foot, because that limited paradigm doesn't leave any room for us to sell our offers. And so you either throw up your hands and quit and say that's the only way, or you get curious about, maybe there's a different way to sell. Maybe there is a loving way to sell. Maybe there's a respectful way to sell. Maybe there's a consent and permission-based way to sell. We start to explore other avenues for what's possible when it comes to sales. And that's where I come in, because you know what? I've had so many incredible, high-achieving women experts from around the world who came to me, and guess what they said? They said, Paloma, I took all of the Sales Bro programs and I didn't feel authentic. I didn't feel like myself. I felt like a slimy, gimmicky, cliche, outdated used car salesman, and I don't want to feel like that. And so they're searching for a better and different way. And I am a person who I have built my business for the last like 13 years of working for myself and selling with love. I don't have a tolerance for that level of bullshit. Like, I'll be on a sales call and I'll just speak it like it is with so much love. With tough love, I'll often say what someone needs to hear, because for me, that's love, right? But it doesn't have to be something that feels bad. There's a way to sell that feels good. Yeah.
Yeah, totally get it. And you mentioned so many important points here, but talking about the coaching business in itself, like I have seen a massive shift, like you're saying, like, in 2020 when COVID hit, it was exactly when I started my business. Everybody just jumped online and there was people starting their coaching business, and that bro marketing, bro way of selling, it was working, right? So many people like build their business on that. But, of course, after a while, people have, bought into those courses, not gotten the results. And now we are in a completely different season, right? Where people are more discerning when they're buying into another course. Have you seen this shift as well?
Here's the thing. You can screw someone over once, but you can't screw them over twice. And so the truth of the matter is, treating people in this way that feels icky and gross, it's funny because you're right, that you can get results in the short term, but you are not here to build a short-term business that lasts for a year and then everyone online is saying, Martin is a scammer, don't go to his blah, 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 right? Actually, it makes good business sense there's the human level, which should be of course. I wish it were of course, but it's not of course. That we treat humans like humans because we're supposed to treat humans like humans, period. But some people are only persuaded by a business argument. Okay. The long-term value of a client. Okay. It is, I believe I saw a statistic recently. It's like 67% easier to sell to the same customer again than it is to acquire a new customer, and it's cheaper to acquire a new lead or to acquire a new customer, right? That, like, you have relationships already. And so good selling is good relationship building, and it is not strategic relationally to do this kind of bait and switch where, yeah, you can sell. You can arm twist. You can make people feel like shit about themselves. You can use scare tactics, and you can use all of the techniques, and they work because ultimately we are primal beings, and we will fall for that kind of stuff because we're human. But guess what? If you tarnish a relationship, if you don't sell with integrity and with love, that's not a good long-term strategy. We are all connected in our industry. We all talk. Your reputation precedes you in a room, okay? Your brand is not what you say about you. It's what other people say about you when you're not in the room, right? And so, there's a reason I've been able to work for myself for 13 years and why my clients get me other clients, why my clients come back again and again and again, because your goal is not just to sell, but it's to deliver well and to do right by your people. Do right by your people. Like, it should be obvious. But unfortunately, it's not. And, it's understandable that there's this anxiety. Like, I don't want to just like purely criticize this other paradigm without saying, like, it can be an interesting challenge or problem to think about. How do I scale rapport building? How do I scale relationship building, right? Just because it's a difficult problem with some legitimate constraints does not mean that we just go for the lazy, easy answer, which is to be robotic and to copy and paste the exact same blurb when you meet someone on LinkedIn again and again and again, and to not personalize it, to not see the person in front of you they actually have a problem and they're struggling with something and they actually are looking for a solution. They're not just sales call number 999 on the schedule, So I think in some ways, people are waking up to it. Sometimes people have to put their hand on the hot oven and get burned a couple times. It sucks. but that's when they find me. So I'm okay. Like, I wish I could save. And some people say to me actually often, I wish I found you before I found the sales bros. I wish I found you before I invested 20K with blah, 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 this person, whatever. Like, we'll just put it with you, because why do you have to sacrifice feeling good or selling? Like, you have to pick one or the other as though they're mutually exclusive. Why can't you sell well, be extremely profitable, be amazing at closing deals, and get to sleep at night and like yourself at the end of the day, and integrity? Why do we have to pick one or the other? And so my desire is to expand your idea of what's possible for selling and offer a different perspective. It actually can be fun and really loving. And if you have a sense of humor, honey, there's so much that we can do on a sales call. It can really be play, and it can be fun.
That's awesome. Yeah. And, you know, when you talk about like the stereotype, you know, like of people that can, you know, confidently sell their products or services, what would you say to people that are sitting there and thinking, yeah, Paloma, but you don't know, like, I'm really shy. I don't, you know, like I've even tried like following the scripts, the bro, and I just can't, you know, seem to close sales. Like, you know, like, do people need to fit into, you know, a type of personality, or, you know, do they need to become somebody else, you know, to be good at sales?
What an exciting and interesting question that I could answer in 500 different ways. Where should I start? There's so much to say. One of my favorite things to say is, with love, it's not about you, right? Okay, I'll give you an example. I call this the surgeon with the pimple on her face. It's a female surgeon, okay? So this woman is the best brain surgeon in the world, okay? And there is a little boy who just got into a car accident, and he badly needs brain surgery. And this woman is like, oh shit, I just got this big pimple on my forehead today, and I don't look that great today. She doesn't go into work that day because she has a pimple and because she doesn't want to look bad in front of other people. If you are a gifted human, which if you're listening to this, surprise, you're a gifted human, and you're not doing surgery on that little boy because you have a pimple on your face, guess what, honey? It's not about you. It's not about you. When you choose to be an entrepreneur or a business owner, you are choosing to be a servant of, or of high service to an audience that you're falling in love with. I am in love with women entrepreneurs. I think they're the most badass, incredible humans, and it is a joy and it is a pleasure to advocate on their behalf. I feel like the women's lawyer. I'm like, okay, ladies, show me your deals. Show me what your blocks are to your confidence. Let's heal that so you can make the biggest, best, most aligned deals possible, right? So ultimately, look, I'm not exactly like an introverted or shy person today. But growing up, I was absolutely shy. I was scared of talking to other people. My big sister was my only friend at recess. And my dad actually, both my mom and my dad have offered me some amazing sensibilities when it comes to this stuff. My mom is an amazing businesswoman, and she wrote a book, and she, with 4 girls, all a year and a half apart, and my dad, who wasn't so supportive of her business, she built a business from the ground up, you know? But I would remember my dad, for example, like when I was at the library as a kid and I wanted something, and I would ask, Dad, can you ask the librarian for an eraser or a pencil, whatever. He'd be like, come on, Paloma, you're strong. You can do it. Go ask. I dare you. I dare you to do it, right? And so people have this idea that confidence is something that you're born with, or it's like, you're either born confident or it's game over. Just like go lie down and die. Like you're meant to be a quiet, shy librarian. Like, no offense, love you librarians. But it's like, it doesn't mean that it's game over for you just because you have certain natural dispositions. You don't have to be like an obnoxiously loud redhead wearing pink lipstick if you don't want to be. Whoever you are, you can still transmit love to another person. You can still transmit confidence and conviction to another person. And enroll them in your vision of what's possible, because ultimately, like the surgeon with the pimple on her face, it's not about you. And so it's okay if you are more introverted. Actually, introverts have a lot of amazing advantages when it comes to sales. Guess what? You're better listeners. You're better listeners. So you have this capacity for perception or for observation that the loud extrovert, you know, when you're talking, you're not winning. Okay. When the other person is talking, guess what? They're writing your pitch for you. They're telling you exactly what they want, exactly what they need, exactly what their motivations are, right? And you're listening. So you have some amazing advantages, and like you're there to be a problem solver. You don't always have to want to be the star of the show, but there are many different mechanisms that you can use to help you sell. Like if you prefer something a little bit more passive, feel free to create, I suggest everybody have a masterclass or a webinar, right? I go and I meet people at events all the time. I go to things that I'm naturally interested in. And everywhere I go, there are people who need my stuff. There are women who are brilliant and powerful and incredible, and they still need to expand in their confidence and their capacity to close deals. So I meet them, they fall in love with me, and then I say, have you, and I literally give them my phone, and they say like, I want to do blah, blah, blah. Like we move the conversation towards what do you do? And I say, what is your dream? And they're like, are you doing it? And what do you want? Blah, the discovery with every human, okay? Sometimes I even get in trouble for this. I got in trouble doing this at my sister's birthday, but also students everywhere who need your stuff. And it's not about me. It's about what a gift. What a gift that you got to meet me today. At paloma.lev, add me, honey, on Instagram, okay? What a gift that you got to meet me today because I'm here to be of service to you. It's not about me. I'm good. I have what I need, right? So I'll ask them, drop your email, and I'll literally send them my masterclass same day. And by the way, if you're listening, oh my God, a crazy bug just came through my window. But guess what? It's not about me. It's okay. I'll survive. That's a really smart strategy. Come in while I'm doing a live stream. Wow. Anyways, so yeah, it's really not about you. I know it's like tough to hear, but however you are, there's a way to harness the gifts of your personality in sales. And if you don't have the emotional energy to have like 10 conversations today, that's totally fine. Then you have different creative constraints. If there's nothing wrong with you, you just need to be kind of collaborating with a fellow problem solver. I'm an extremely resourceful, creative human. And when my people say like, I prefer this to this, then how do we design a business around that, right? Like how do we design infrastructure that can do a lot of the emotional heavy lifting for you? When someone watches my masterclass, it's 2 hours. And they go through this process of who are you and what are you about and what do you believe in and what are your teachings like and are you legit and all of this stuff, right? So that does a lot of the heavy lifting for me, and I make it mandatory. If someone wants to work with me privately, you need to watch my masterclass before you work with me. So that's 2 hours of Paloma time. My Instagram, go watch my videos and see if if we vibe and you like me, great, right? So there's different things that you can put in place. Like every single person has the capacity to sell. Whether you think you're in sales or not, you're in sales. You're like, you're selling or you're being sold to, and you're either selling your own dream or vision or someone's employing you and you're selling their dream or vision, right? Like every single thing that you need to get from another human, okay? Like there's things that we can do for ourselves, but ultimately you're not going to farm your own food. You're not going to, we are interdependent species. And guess what? Angelica has resources that I don't have. I have resources that she doesn't have. And we might have some mutual interests of ways that we can help each other. And how do we? That's the reason that we negotiate. When we have resources that might benefit each other and we want access to each other's resources, then we engage in this negotiation process. That is sales. We are selling other people on our pitches, on our offers, on our ideas. So a long way of saying, I don't care what you think your perceived limitation is, you are capable and I believe in you. And I have seen people who said to me, I have nothing to sell and I have no skills and this is this. And guess what? Like a year or two later after working with me, they're selling 10K packages off, traveling abroad with their new husband. And they're like, yeah, actually I could. You can do it. Yeah.
Amazing. I love that. I was just thinking about yesterday when I was trying to get my kids to go to bed and they were selling to me that they did not want to go to bed. And I was just like, you know what? I am going to bed because it's school holidays here. And you guys won. I'm going. That's it.
Isn't that the hardest objection handling with kids? Because they're so eyes on the prize. It would benefit them to understand a little bit about how, hey, mom has her own self-interest. If I could appeal to her self-interest, if I could make her life easier, then I could get more of what I want. But they'll learn. Eventually, the whining and crying thing as a grown-up is not a cute look. And you find other more effective and efficient persuasion strategies.
Yeah, I actually have been teaching them a bit about sales, so they know all of that. Oh, mom, you look really nice. Like, oh, we really love you. Can we stay up until late? And I'm like, oh.
You're like, well, if I'm pretty, then yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
You can have candy for dinner. It's fine.
Last question. Can you give us an example of a successful client story that you have recently worked with?
Yeah. I have so many that I would love to share with you, but I'll share with you one of my favorites. So this amazing mama came to me, and she's actually a friend of my sister's. And she calls me kind of like late at night. This is before I had boundaries and I actually picked up calls late at night. But anyways, and she was just sharing that like she was in a tough moment where she was let go from her job. She had a little baby. Her partner wasn't super supportive. And she was like, I don't want to go to another job. Like, I want to be with my newborn, right? And so I ended up like, the next day we got together, and I was just planning to like be a friend and just like help with some like laundry or cooking or whatever. But, Paloma's going to be Paloma everywhere she goes. So I said to her, what's your dream? We go to a coffee shop. What's your dream? As soon as she starts talking, I'm like, you know what? We need to record this because she was speaking from her heart. She was speaking from a place of love and of possibility, right? She's like, I want this for moms. I want them to be financially free, and I want them to have this. And it's like a movement. And I'm like, why can't you build an offer to be of service and free yourself and free other people at the same time? And so this person is extremely resilient and also has been through all kinds of painful shit in her life. Like, the majority of my clients are incredibly resilient, badass women who've had a trauma background, who've been through painful things in so many different intersections of what women go through. And the reason that it's particularly painful for women on sales calls and these kinds of things is because all of the layers of compounded trauma show up in the sales process. It shows up with you on the sales call. It shows up in your pricing. It's like your inner child whose needs for validation and a sense of worthiness and security and safety and peace. That is the CEO of your business. That is the person who's running the show. And so I take my clients through these healing processes, and it's kind of cool because it's like where business meets healing. And some people call me like a business therapist, if you will, because actually what's happening in your business is simply a symptom of what's going on within. It's just a symptom of your history and the way that your history is continually, running the show in your present day business and life, right? So this amazing woman, she took the journey. She was brave, and she said, like, I trust you. Like, where do we go from here? And we worked layer by layer of conviction. I developed something called the conviction method, the 5 layers of conviction that you must build. Conviction is firmly held belief. Belief in yourself, belief in your expertise, belief in your offer, belief in your prices, and belief in your delivery. How do we build your sense of belief so that you can transfer that belief to other people? So like, hell yes, I want to work with you. I want to pay with you. How do we start, right? And so she had an incredible transformation. If I told you all of the changes she made in her life, we'd be here for like 5 hours. But everything from releasing this partner that was not aligned for her and was toxic to her well-being and her growth, changing her relationship with her own parents and having discussions that she had never had with them. She never worked a job again and has since had 10K months and made a 10K sales. I think her highest so far was a 15K month. She moved to Colombia with her child and living on her own terms. She employed other mothers and like gave them opportunities. Our first few deals that we worked on were sponsorship deals. So we built an audience for her, and she sold sponsorship deals, and I coached her through the process of how do you package, how do you pitch. There's an iconic photo, which I could find, of me, her, and her beautiful little daughter, who I don't know if she was like 2 or 3 at the time, sitting on her lap while we have it spread out on the table, all these sticky notes. And I think her kitchen was green, and I still have this image in my mind, and we're building sponsorship packages. And it just felt like really so empowering. For women, financial freedom is emotional freedom too. It's not relying on anyone else. It's not asking a boss for permission. It's not relying on toxic people in your life because of dependency. It's self-sufficiency, and it is a feminist issue for women to have financial and emotional control in their lives, with all of the kind of systematic ways that women are held back and harmed in our society, it's very important that women have more power, more control, and more access to resources. And the only way that you can do that is doing the brave, hard work of saying, I am willing to invest in these skills. Confidence skills, negotiation skills, sales skills will set you free.
Mm.
And so, like, we had so many conversations with this amazing woman of like, it just makes me cry when I think about how her daughter's gonna have a totally different life, a totally different path than she will, because she sees her mom healed, empowered, coaching other women. She wrote her book in one of our containers that we did together. Her story is remarkable, beautiful, powerful. And I encouraged her, I'm like, baby, write your book. And she started doing live readings, and she finished her first draft of her manuscript. This is someone who didn't grow up being told you matter and your voice is important. An immigrant to Canada. She's been through all kinds of traumas. And for her to find her voice and be able to sell herself confidently. I remember we did meetings where we practiced her pitch. And we did it again and again. I asked her, watch this on mute. Look at your embodiment. And I would lovingly move her shoulders back, calm her forehead, and like working with her through the internal game. To master the inner game of sales is also a mastery of your life, because you can access anything and you feel infinite, you feel unstoppable. That kind of confidence stays with you for life. And yeah, there's growing pains. Yeah, it's vulnerable. I'm not gonna say it happens overnight, but it's one of those powerful journeys that you can go on. And I'm extremely passionate about women having the kind of transformation that this beautiful woman had, because she's a humongously profound leader. And when women access new levels of power, authority, income, etc., they do amazing stuff with it. They empower their daughters and sons and their community and their partners and their students. Like, women do amazing stuff with resources. And so it just gives me a lot of joy to see. I would love everyone to win, but there's a special joy that I get. I'm one of 4 sisters, and my mom just made it against all odds what she did to provide for us in her own business. She left a good, stable law job, which was, she felt not alive. And she left that to do what felt authentic to her. She said to us kids, follow your dreams. And because she didn't just say it, she did it.
She did it.
And because she did it, she showed me and she mentored me. And now I feel like every other woman is my sister. I'm like, okay, sisters, let's build. You deserve it.
I love what you said, this story, this client that you talk about. I'm from Brazil, and I left Brazil for that exact same reason. I saw all the women around me not being financially free. And although, you know, I come from a mid-class and they were okay not to work, I kind of felt that I didn't want to follow that path of not being financially free. And for me, you know, I thought that when I left Brazil, I went to Spain, and I live in Belgium, in England, in New Zealand, and I live in Australia now. I thought the women outside of a third world country would be free. And yet I have encountered many women that are still living in the same confinements as the ones in Brazil. You know, with, you know, domestic violence, with, you know, financial abuse, and, you know, being, you know, really not free. And I am deeply passionate about that as well. And it's incredible, this story that you said, because, you know, when you go back to Colombia and you actually, you know, what she's done was build a community. You know, I don't believe that they already have those things in place to help free women. You know, it's not only about, you know, having a job and earning money. It's about a freedom that comes from inside, right? And I think that's where you were talking about this healing process that we need to go through to really find that healing, you know, as a woman, which I think is so important.
I love what you shared. And, you know, it's so beautiful. My clients have come from over 25 different countries around the world. I have an amazing woman who's closing 3K sales in Ecuador. I have an amazing client from India, an amazing client from Kenya. I wrote down, where else? From China. Like, it just, I don't ever feel like it's like, it would be amazing to change the world, but the best way to start is to change yourself.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Just find a way to empower yourself, and you automatically empower. I'm just going to plug in because my computer wants to die. You automatically empower your community, and you empower the people around you. And so
And you become magnetic, like I said, with your confidence, you become this mirror, that what you're doing, Ecuador, I mean, I've been to Ecuador, the economy that is not so great. And for somebody to be earning that amount of money there is huge, and for me, it was very important that I've got a daughter, that I raised my daughter to be free, to know her worth and to know that, and I had to go through my own process as well. It wasn't just about moving out of Brazil. There was a lot of healing that I had to do as well. And I think I'm deeply passionate about that too, because there's so many women, like you said, if it's about selling for others, getting the appointment for their kids, or doing something for their husbands or or for somebody else, they are all in. But when it's to do for themselves, I think that's where there is some healing that we need to do as collective.
100%. And you know what? I want to say to women, it's not your fault. It is your responsibility at this point, but it's not your fault. Yeah. It's not your fault. And, my masterclass, which I highly recommend everyone watch, feel free to DM me.
Yeah, I'll watch. Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
Or like just drop it below, or like DM me, whatever, at paloma.lev on Instagram, because I want to get this masterclass in the hands of every single woman. Remind me what I was talking about.
So you're saying it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility. Yeah.
Yeah. So the masterclass is on the 7 conviction killers, the 7 things that block women from standing in their full confidence and conviction. And I talk about all of the different layers of conditioning, all the way from the way that women's labor is undervalued and underpriced in all industries that are women centered. The average income is lower, to intergenerational trauma, to the way that women are asked to sacrifice. They see all these Mother's Day ads. What is it like? Oh, she always ate last, and she never asked for anything for herself. And she, she never wanted anything. She was just the most self-sacrificing woman in the world. It's like, that's what it means to be good as a woman, to be selfless without a self. That is good for a woman, right? And who is benefiting and who's profiting off her lack of self? Who is profiting off her labor, right? So there's systems at play, and no system is designed by accident. It's not an accident that the system gets the results that it does, because it's an effective system. There are people who are benefiting from the system. But that's why I want women to, as opposed to being a horse running on somebody else's racetrack, I would like you to build your own racetrack. I'd like you to build your own game and make sure that you're playing a game worth winning. Not all games are worth winning. And that might be a job that you feel stuck in, or even a business model that you would like to pivot from. Is it really serving your highest interest? And let's normalize women being self-interested. It's okay to say what's in it for me. Why have so many of these one-sided things, one-sided relationships where you are overgiving? One-sided, no, you deserve to receive. And women struggle with receiving so much for very understandable reasons. But there's a lot of healing to be done. So I've never lacked clients, because there's always amazing women who are brave and they're up to the task, and they say, I know I need to go on this journey of healing. Nobody's going to do it for you. But when you do it, your world opens up and you become magnetic. People are they want to be led by you, because you are first leading and healing yourself, So
you become the example of what's possible, right? And I think that's really, like I said, change starts with us, right? With one person, and then you become this example. And I love that. Well, thank you so much, Paloma. I know it's late there. It's just been awesome. So guys, DM Paloma for her masterclass, but I will add, just tag you in so people can connect with you on Insta, and if you are on Facebook as well. She's also on LinkedIn. There's some amazing testimonials there for you guys to watch. Thank you so much, Paloma. I really, really appreciate your time. The work that you're doing is absolutely incredible.
Thank you, love. And you know what? It's so funny, because I heard your beautiful accent and I was like, I don't know why I was going to guess Spanish speaker, but now I hear the I hear the brigadeiro and the feijoada. I learned how to make brigadeiro recently on a date. But yeah, no, it's the best, most beautiful thing in the world. And it's like my client from Ecuador, for example, she had her first $6,000 month. And
That's massive in Ecuador.
it was almost a $10,000 a month, but it was a couple days after that she closed another 3K deal. But she didn't have people around her. She didn't have role models.
No.
Like, she invested in herself more than their like yearly salary. And it's like,
yeah.
It's very unheard of, but
Yeah.
women are pioneers around the world. We're all being brave together. And if my mom hadn't been brave, I wouldn't have seen the example of what it looks like to be brave. And I chose to be brave. And I'm helping other women to be brave. They already are. They just need the kind of tools and the activation. Yeah. And we can all be brave together and create this community of like love. And sales is not your enemy. You can do it in a loving way. Like what we're doing right now. Hopefully you're more enrolled into our visions for what we would like for the world. And it is purely with love. I have no intention other than bring you into my world. You're probably going to buy my stuff. You're probably going to want to work with me as a coach.
I'm signing up straight after this.
And it's with love, guys. It's with love because the agenda is clear. I want to be of service. And don't be afraid of the fact that money is involved in these things. Guess what? It circulates. It's the most abundant. It's a commodity, honey. You yourself are special and rare and one of a kind and unique and irreplaceable and different. You are not a commodity. You're a monopoly. There's one of you, and you're probably not going to live more than 200 years on this planet. So you are a scarce resource, but money is everywhere. Don't fetishize it. Don't put it on a pedestal. It's not above you. It's not bigger than you. You are infinitely valuable to the right people. And so you can absolutely sell with love and let our example be an example of this, you know, attach it to a movement that you really believe in.
Yeah, I love that so much. What you said, what you're doing for the ladies that especially like in places like Ecuador, it's absolutely incredible. Like I said, this person is absolutely a pioneer. There is no role models. There is no, when I left Brazil, my family thought I was completely insane. You know, they did not understand why, because I didn't have a plan. I didn't have a lot of money. You know, my dad at the time couldn't help me financially, you know, but that's what women did. They just, you know, went to uni, got, you know, kind of got a job, got married, had a baby, and just kind of accepted this kind of conveyor belt of like, you know, you know, they didn't even ask themselves, is this really what I want to do? Right. And I kind of put up my hand up and said, well, that's definitely what I don't want to do. So I'm out of here. Yeah. and it takes a lot of courage. I really like what you said. It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility. It takes so much courage to really go against the grind and, you know, go against the herd. Like for me, I would say leaving Brazil was harder than going through chemotherapy.
Wow.
People, you know, like, and, you know, and when I say this, my husband is English, I'm like, you don't understand because you're English speaking and everywhere you go, people speak English, but, you know, it's different when you are not an English speaking person. You know, I left everything I knew and everything was different. Like you put a TV on, it's different. Like I lived in Spain, like people treat you. There is a lot of racism. There is a lot of, you know, everywhere you go, even when you speak other languages, you know, and you know, like it was extremely hard to make that leap. But if I hadn't made that leap, I wouldn't be here today.
You know, I just want to say one more thing because you're so fun to talk to, and it's so important what we're sharing today. I think about our grandmothers. You know, we have the internet. Yeah. Do you understand, friends, what a game changer that is? Like they did this multiplication machine of where we can access, I don't know how many billion, 8 billion humans that exist right now. Like opportunity is infinite for us now. And I think about my grandmother who grew up poor in Romania and my father who grew up poor in Romania and like Jewish in a communist country that was very anti-Semitic. And my grandmother survived the Holocaust and she was the most resourceful person. My dad still remembers not having enough food growing up. My grandfather died in front of my dad when he was young. He had a heart attack and he was a physician and he passed away in front of my dad as a teenager. So my grandmother took care of the whole family of him and his brother. And there was rations of how much food you could get. So she would get like 1 chicken per week. And my dad always tells a story about how resourceful my grandmother was. With this 1 chicken, she would stretch it and she would make this and this and this, and she would make soup and this. And they're like, whenever I confront a challenge in business or in life, I draw on the strength of my ancestors and my grandmothers, like survivors. We are survivors as women. We are survivors of a culture that can be toxic to us in a lot of different ways. We are so badass. We are so strong. We are so resilient. Let your PTSD, which we all have to some extent, become post-traumatic growth.
Yeah.
Post-traumatic growth, you know, of this incredible renewed resilience. I had someone the other day who asked me, she said, when you say gritty, what do you mean? I said, we are survivors.
Yeah.
And we find ways to thrive and alchemize our pain into goodness and into gold and into love. And my grandmother, that she was able to take this one chicken and stretch it for the entire week to feed her family. I just compare the kinds of problems, and I'm not trying to diminish the true challenges of business. That business is very challenging, but like when I compare the kind of constraints that she had versus what we have, that the tool of the internet, love, and persuasion, with those three, maybe a cup of coffee every now and then too. Like we got so much opportunity. And I know that opportunity can be overwhelming, but it's like, bring your ancestors in the room for support and for love to stand.
I love that. I love that. I was like, I had goosebumps all over when you were talking about this story of your family. And I'm so going to do that. My grandmother had 15 children and my mom is the only woman.
Wow.
So my mom has always been a badass woman because she had to be so strong, right?
Wow.
But in saying that, there was one thing, my mom, because my dad had his own business and at some point he had a lot of money, she never really, she was never really financially free. Right. And my dad being, he was Spanish, he went to Brazil, very chauvinistic. He used to buy everything for him and for my brother. And he wouldn't buy any, you know, like material stuff for my mom or for me in a way. And because my mom has never been vain. And I grew up watching this thinking, I am never going to depend on a man financially.
I had the exact same thing.
I am going to have my own money.
But I had the exact same thing. I had many moments where I was like, I can't depend on my dad to, you know, we had all kinds of challenges with him. So it's painful but you know what? Let our pain be our power, because we have pain in abundance. And so we have power in abundance. They come together. You know, your pain really is your superpower if you know how to alchemize it with love and with it really, the obstacle is the way, your adversity is your advantage. All the cliches that they put on cups are true, friends. Like that's your rocket fuel, you know?
Yes, for sure. Your superpower, for sure. Well, I think we can talk forever. We can talk forever, but we're going to stop here. Thank you so much. I'll add all your details. Please reach out to Paloma for her masterclass. It's absolutely incredible. It's going to be the best 2 hours that you're going to be spent really kind of investing in yourself. Thank you so much once more, and I will see you soon.
Bye, everybody. Thanks, Betty.